It's time to down your unders. Down your unders. Review and dissection of content from some of the sharpest minds in the game. Hosted by Adam Camilleri. Art of War. Down Under.
Hello, denizens of the 41st millennium, and welcome to episode 200 of the Art of War Down Under podcast. It's my absolute great honor and pleasure to be joining you today on this for this momentous occasion. I was going to say fortuitous occasion, but had no idea I was going to do this well. Had no idea it was going to go this long. But here we are, some more than 3, less than 4 years into the piece, and I'm joined by the gentleman who helped me start it all. He is one of the best players in the world, GOAT contender. He is representing Team America for the first time in quite a few years. The returning champion, returning legend to the world stage, Nick Nanavati. Welcome to the show, my man. How you doing?
I'm great, Adam. Good to be back. I remember your very first episode we were recording, and to see how Art of War and Down Under and all it's grown, to have you on the 200th episode, have me be here. It's just awesome.
It is, dude. Wow. I remember I was I think it was in halfway through 2020, and I was like twiddling my thumbs doing nothing in like perpetual lockdown in Australia. And Josh Diffie's like, do a show, Adam. And Nick's like, Adam, do a show. Like, you're poking me with a stick, just like, do it. Come on, do it. Do a show. And so here we are. I pulled it out of the side of the view, and I just sent it. And 200 episodes later is my great pleasure. I had planned to have revamped intros, outros, and everything in between. Unfortunately, because I was sick all last week, that did not eventuate. So that'll be coming in the next couple of weeks. And a bit of an revamped view on things, maybe remix the intro and outro music. I've got some of my brother's music I'm planning to use for the outro music, which is going to be really cool. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed your 200 episodes thus far. Nick, what the hell are we doing on this episode 200? What could I possibly have brought the illustrious Nick Nanavati on my show to do?
We're talking about the brand new Sisters Codex, Adam, and I'm so excited. I love this thing.
I know you do, and I know you would. When I first got the book and I read through it, I'm like, oh man, Nick's going to be happy. Nick's going to be so happy. But this is a phenomenal book, and I have waited naturally to do this review with Nick on episode 200 because it was an aligning of the stars that I couldn't really avoid, and it was just too good to be true. So, my man, let's not. Let's dive in. Let's do what we're here to do. We're going to review this book cover to cover. But what are your hot takes on the Adepta Sororitas Codex 410th edition?
I mean, it's just such an all-star codex. I mean, perhaps too strong, but we actually just got the points changes on the balance data slate and all that stuff. So I think it's definitely not the powerhouse that everyone assumed it would be, because I think everyone kind of assumed, like, on pre-release it was like, this is obviously the best army in the game. Yes. What are we doing here? And I think the points changes are substantial. I really think what's happened here is that Sisters are an army that was already very strong, and it was kind of had the identity of having lots of cheap units all over the place, and they were all pretty good. And now they got even better. Their units, their data sheets, their detachments, they're insane what they can do on the tabletop. And they got pointed up appropriately to reflect that, but their defense hasn't gone up at all. So they're still like made of paper. It's kind of more like Eldar in play style now.
Yes, that is a perfect correlation, and you're absolutely right. When I got the preview copy of this book, and I think some of the other War boys were the same, we were like, "Is this actually the best codex we have seen this edition?" Because on current points as they stood when this thing came out, without using any of the back of the book, just using the MFM from previous, we were like, this is ridiculous. This is possibly better than pre-nerf Canoptic Court when they still had the mortal wound bomb and all that stuff. This might be the best thing we've ever seen from a book. Now, I 100% agree. I think we actually have to wait and see, because it's actually hard to determine what the power of this book is now. I can tell you, though, the internal balance and the feel of this book and the power and the exciting things that you can do with it is a phenomenal amount of depth. People out there are going to be extremely happy with their Sisters Codex, and you're not going to feel like you're playing with a machine gun and everyone else is wielding a spoon or a fork, because that's kind of what it was going to feel like. Here's my unit that can do all things all the time because I have Miracle Dice and an extremely judicious stratagem suite, and you have your intercessor. Congratulations, sir.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool too that like before it's even come out, they have recognized that this is just too strong. Let's fix it now. And like it's kind of maybe potentially timing wise, right? Because the Codex is releasing and then the balanced data slate and all that's hitting like right after or right before, timing wise.
Yeah.
But it's really cool to see that they're not waiting 3 months to figure out to see the data, as we say, on we're surprised sisters are really good. No, they're like, all right, this is obviously very good. Let's do something about it. I love that.
So we are recording this prior to the balanced data slate coming out with full knowledge of the balanced data slate. So this is a couple of days prior to, whenever that NDA comes up for you guys out there. You'll be listening to this poignantly, in a timely fashion. Next Tuesday, we're back to our usual recording schedule. I'll be reviewing the balanced data slate in the MFM or in whatever portion we can, because there is such a huge deluge of changes to the game. It's almost like we're at 10.5. It's almost like it's not quite 10th edition and it's not quite 11th edition. And we have had a completely new reskin. So it's actually going to be really hard to talk to you guys about how strong this codex is in the context of the meta, because the meta is brand freaking spanking new. Is that safe to say, Nick?
Yeah, it's going to be the Wild West. I mean, I think for all the teams that are trying to figure out what they're doing for World Team Championships or American Team Championships, it's such a scramble right now, but that's the nature of the beast here.
It is going to be wild. All right. Well, naturally, 2-part podcast as always. Part 2, come over and join us over on Patreon at Art of War Down Under. Otherwise, you should definitely check out the War Room. And I don't know, I know I don't need to plug this, but Nick, if you would like to, send it.
I appreciate that, Adam. Yeah, so we actually have another sister podcast to the Art of War Down Under, which is our Art of War 40K podcast, where I'm the host and I go run around interviewing top players who do well at events. And it's not kind of the review content show that Adam does, but it is a podcast focused on players who are doing well and how their armies work and all that stuff. And if you're interested in more video content, we offer a lot of that as well in the War Room, which is our video subscription platform. You can actually get a 50% off discount code right now off your first month, which is a sale we're running during the release of all these balance updates and all that good stuff. So that is AOW Nexus, all caps, kind of in preparation for the Pariah Nexus previews. And you just go to theworm.vhx.tv. There's a link in the description of all of our YouTube videos, and you can access a 3-day free trial as well, so you can see what the content's like, see what it's about. Appreciate the opportunity to plug Adam.
No problems at all. And as always, if anybody wants to follow us along at home, we're going to start our review on page 69. Thank you. Nice. And continue. This is the Army Rule Acts of Faith. Nothing's changed here, has it, Nick? Still a phenomenally powerful rule, one of the best army rules in the game, and it's not even close.
Nothing changed, but I really didn't realize it was on page 69. Adam, what a phenomenal little fact that was.
Yeah, it's so good. That made my day. The Acts of Faith in this book still holding up, still the powerhouse and the linchpin that holds this faction together.
Yeah, I think a lot of players, myself included, were kind of expecting an Acts of Faith change or like a fundamental shift in how sisters worked. We didn't get that. We just got new detachments, and that's really going to be the star of the show. Some of our data sheets changed as well, and we'll talk about that for sure. But largely speaking, it's the detachments that got the love and attention here.
And despite Acts of Faith being a phenomenally powerful portion of the book, GW has shown they are quite reluctant to change army rules. The actual army rule of a faction, they are reluctant to change it. In fact, the only army that I think's gone through a multitude of army rule changes is Eldari. I can only point at Fate Dice as the only rule that has been changed more than once this edition as an army rule.
Yeah, the Jinx cult rule feels like it's changed many times, but I'm not sure that it actually has.
I think it's changed once, and they went from the everything's coming back to things are only sometimes coming back. But you may be correct. It may have been they went through another iteration. But we have 4 beautiful detachments for your viewing pleasure. The first of which is Hallowed Martyrs. Not a lot has changed here. This is the index detachment, and I'm just going to let Nick TLDR what has changed in this one in totality, rather than giving you guys a full review again, which we've already done on a previous show.
Yeah, largely speaking, this detachment's going to feel a little bit different than it did in the index, mostly because your data sheets change. Things like Arctoflagellants aren't the same, Triumph's not the same, so that's going to affect like every Scissors list that ran them, which most did. But aside from that, we did get some actual changes as well. The Blade of St. Eleanor enhancement actually moved to another detachment, but the effect of it is still the same. You're going to add 1 to your attacks and strength and damage of the character. And if you're wounded, you actually add 2. And another thing which is really actually different here is we don't have the +1 to wound strat anymore. Instead, that's going to be replaced by a reroll hit roll strat. And if you're below half strength, you get to reroll wound rolls as well.
That is correct. And in totality, it's still a very well-rounded detachment. I think people will still be very happy with this. Now, we've seen G-Dub's forward thinking in the fact that their index detachments have all showed themselves to be a medium performer in the Codex. When the Codex has been released, similar for a Gladius, similar for other things. Not quite as good as a Iron Storm, but still a very strong way to play the faction. Do you think Hallowed Martyrs is still going to show that to be the case for Sisters?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way the detachments work is there's 2 detachments that tell you how to play your army, and one of them is going to be Bent and Host, and the other is Bringers of Flame, which we'll cover in detail. And then the other 2 detachments, Hallowed Martyrs and the new one, Army of Faith, are kind of like different ways to play balanced, well-rounded, however you want to take them, Sisters. So all 4 are competitive, and there are pros and cons and reasons to run each one, like legitimately, not like trolling. Yeah. And I definitely think there are like a lot of unique combos, and you're probably still going to see this detachment. Maybe not right on the offset, because I think every Sisters player is excited to try the new stuff out. Yeah. But after a few months, you might come back to this one.
Agreed. I would like to let you guys know that in the MFM for Sisters, every single one of the enhancements in Hallowed Martyrs has gone up. Probably fairly so. Certainly, an example is now 10 points. The Through Suffering Strength, which is the rebranded mantle of Bladis and Eleanor, is 25, and then we have Chaplet of Sacrifice for 25, and then Mantle of Ophelia for 20. All right, jumping into our second detachment. This is Dependent Host, and the detachment reads thus: Desperate for Redemption. At the start of the battle round, select one of the following vows of atonement to be active for your army until the start of the next battle round. You can only select each vow of atonement once per battle. Path of the Penitent. Add 3 to the move characteristic of penitent models in your army, +3 move army wide. Like if you, okay. Absolution in battle. Each time a unit from your army selected to fight, if that unit made a charge move this turn until the end of the phase, add 1 to the attacks and strength characteristic of models with the penitent keyword. That sounds very bloody rose to me. And then Death Before Disgrace is a fight on death on a 2 freaking plus. Wowee, what an army rule, mate. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, let's talk about what it actually affects, because it's not actually army-wide, it's penitent models. Now, you could make your army mostly out of penitent models, but that's going to be Archiflagellants, Repentia, Penitent Engines, Mortifiers, and the Humble Priest. So basically, you're running Archiflagellants and Repentia, and they are so much better than usual. They add 3 to their move once per battle round. They can go +1 strength attacks, which is really nice on both of those units. Repentia don't have enough attacks, now they do, and Archiflagellants sometimes aren't strong enough, now they are. And then Fight on Death 2+ into like World Eaters and Orcs and things is just like game-breakingly good. So it's got a lot of support, and the strats, which we'll cover as well, really support this play style as well.
Yeah, this is obviously a very strong place to start. And I mean, straight off the bat, very much echoes what people loved about Sisters in the previous edition, that savage, I am not wearing any armor, but I do not care. I'm going to close the gap with you, kill you, and then get traded out. No problems whatsoever. But, trading out when you've got to fight on death on a 2+ ain't exactly trading. It's take, see you later, alligator. I like this a lot. Tell us about the first of the enhancements.
The enhancements are really interesting. So all 4 of them are actually quite good. The Psalm of Righteous Judgment is basically, you can, whenever a penitent unit in your army kills an enemy unit, you can discard a miracle dice from your miracle pool and then just turn it into a 6. So every time you kill a unit, you get an automatic 6 into your miracle dice pool, basically.
Crazy.
Which is great. That's just great.
30 points.
30 points. It is a little steep. Yeah. Verse of Holy Piety is another good one. Once per battle, at the start of the battle round, when you're selecting your vows of atonement, which are the +3 move, +1 strength attack, fight on death 2+, you can have this unit pick another one and then get it in addition to. So you could have one unit maybe go +1 strength and attack, and then also fight on death in preparation.
I like it as well. Adds a bit of flexibility, adds a little bit of depth and interplay. We'll run you, I think, 15 points, if I remember right.
Yeah, I don't have the points right in front of me.
I got it. Yeah, 15. Yep.
Okay. So then the refrain of Enduring Faith. This is really nice on Archiflagellants. You just give it to your priest who can join them, and then they get a 5+ invulnerable save. So it just adds to that durability. Like everyone knows, like the only nice thing about Archiflagellants is they don't have a save, and now they get a 5+.
25 points. Sounds about right.
And lastly, we've got Catechism of Divine Penitence, which you can only give to a Palatine, Canis, or Ministorum priest, and the bearer gains the penitent keyword and the ability to join Repentia. So where I really like this is taking a Palatine and joining it to Repentia, and she gives the Repentia lethal hits. They already have sustained hits, and as we'll cover very shortly, there's a strat in here for crit 5s.
And they have rerolls to hit built in. So they are just fishing for the moon. And they can really do anything once you put that entire package together. But jumping into the first of the stratagems, Final Redemption. This is 1 CP. It is not a battle tactic. It happens in any phase. One penitent unit from your army that was just destroyed while it was in range of an objective marker you control. You can use a strat even though it's just destroyed. Sticky that objective. So very similar to the World Eater stratagem, your penitent unit must die, but if it does die, you can sticky the objective that it was on. It's a very handy stratagem, especially on an army that wants to be brawling and trading in the middle of the table.
Yeah, this is amazing because it allows you to force the shooting armies to come to you. You just run like a solo mortifier out to an objective, your opponent blows it up, and now it's still your objective until they come and take it, and then you get to charge them, and it's great.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. What's the next one?
One thing you noted there, Adam, is it's not a battle tactic, but that doesn't matter anymore. There's a core rules change that say that whole thing is just different now. Battle tactic is not a distinction that matters at all.
So we're back to nothing mattering. So all this epic deed, strategic ploy, never heard of it. You can forget it all exists again, guys. Brand new worlds.
It's wonderful. It really is.
I love that they made us learn all that stuff for exactly like 6 months. And then they're like, nah.
The game designers are allowed to change their mind, I guess.
It's just funny.
Oh, it is. So we've got Purity of Suffering, which is basically 4+ funeral pain from one of your penitent units. And
wow.
Yeah, your Archiflagellants don't have 4 funeral pain built in anymore. It's nerfed to a 5-up, which is worse, but with 1 CP you get a 4-up, which is nice, and then stack that with a 5-up invul, and you got a durable unit.
Exactly right, man. This is it's penitent, so you can use it on penitent engines, which of course come in packs of 2. You can't get a packs of 3 or whatever you used to be able to. I don't think you could in the index anyway. I'm thinking of editions gone by, but even then, with a 4-up feeling pain on them, they become an absolute house. Right. One command point. This is a great strat. Next up is Passion of the Penitent. 1 CP. It's in the fight phase. 1 penitent unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. To the end of the phase, each time a penitent model in a unit makes a melee attack, crit 5s. Wowie. Yeah.
So, Repentia have sustained hits built in their datasheet. Archiflagellants have sustained hits built in their datasheet. Penitent engines have sustained hits built into their datasheet. And just make it crit 5s. And then the Palatine, like I said, gives you lethal hits too. It's just absolutely nutty. This strat is like a use it every time you fight kind of strat.
It is. This is a bread and butter. Funnily enough, there's so many units in the game at the moment, like MSU-wise, that you don't really need this to help you with when the power you're wielding already with the data sheets in this book. But man, oh man, when you want this is going to be windmill slam down judiciously. Such a good one. What's next?
Next, we got Lash of Guilt, which is advance and charge for any of your penitent units. And if you actually use it on a penitent engine, you get an automatic 6 on your advance roll. So this is nice for a couple really cool reasons. One, advance and charge with Miracle Dice is absolutely cracked. You can automatically go 6 inches in the charge in the movement phase, and then another 6 guaranteed in the charge phase if you have the 6s available to you. And Triumph, which we'll cover, has a movement buff now, and also gives you a 6 automatically. So you can just missile units out like ludicrously far and then charge, especially when you look at that +3 move for Path of the Penitent army rule here.
Yeah, I mean, it really does make what you said previously about sisters maybe feeling a little bit more like Eldar now than they did previously. Whereas Eldar will do this crazy movement tricks and then shoot you. This is going to do crazy movement tricks and then fight you. You could almost see them as 2 sides of the same coin now. And this is a straight up ridiculous stratagem. Such a good strat.
It is. This and Passion of Penitent for the crit 5s are basically the 2 strats that I'm spamming. My turn, I advance and charge, and then I hit you very hard, and then I just go through that 2 CP every round.
Yep, cycle. Bandler's Zeal is up next. It's in your movement phase just after an Adepta Sororitas unit from your army falls back. So not a penitent unit for the first time. That unit, until the end of the turn, is eligible to declare a charge in the turn in which it fell back. If it has a penitent keyword, it can shoot as well as charge if it fell back. This is just a good activator. It's just a good thing to have. Fall back and charge on an army that it wants to be charging is going to feel pretty good. And I have seen single. I mean, I don't need to tell you, Nick, but I've seen single characters. I've seen single arco-flagellants do absurd amounts of damage when they fall back and charge into my army, or just survive a round of combat when they shouldn't have, kill themselves out of combat with hazardous and whatnot, and then just go off in a different direction. It is a disgusting what can be accomplished.
Well, just thinking about how armies counterplay a combat army is like, sometimes after they charge their whole army into your lines, you can't deal with everything, but you can stall a couple units by like charging your Rhino into the side of the Arco-Flagellants. That's just not going to work. And taking away that counterplay is really nice for a melee army.
Huge. I've left the last one for you, mate, because this takes some unpacking. Heads are going to reel. People's eyes are going to bug out of their head, and we may just curse a little bit. But tell us about fanaticism, because this thing, I'm going to
read this one slowly, and then I'm going to clarify exactly how it means. And then everyone is going to be like, does it really work that way? And I'm telling you that it does. So you use it in your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. You target one of your penitent units from your army that was selected as the target of your opponent's shooting attacks. Then you roll a dice, and your unit can be moved a distance in inches up to the result, but it must move as close as possible to the closest enemy unit. When doing so, models in your unit can be moved within engaged range of enemy units. So let me tell you what that means, Adam. That means when you select my Repentia or Arco-Flagellants or whatever to shoot at, before you resolve your hit rolls and wound rolls and saves, I'm going to use this strat, move D6 inches. The closest point of my model that is closest to whatever unit is closest to me has to move straight towards it. Everybody else can do whatever the hell they like as long as they maintain coherency. Yes. And in doing so, I can engage any amount of units. The one that's shooting me, the one that's near me, 3 other units that are just also near me. It's insane. And you might be thinking it's easy to counterplay this. Just be far away from the unit when you shoot them. Sure, fine, whatever. I'm going to charge my unit onto the objective, and you can stay far away from the objectives. It's great.
Correct. Yeah, when people say that, they forget upon the terms of that this army is trading. This army isn't trading in no man's land, not on objectives. If you want to, and so there is counterplay to this. There is ways to not get bad touched by this, but I'm here to say the savvy Sororitas general will wield that as a weapon as well.
It is the combination of this stratagem and sticky objectives means if you try to shoot me off and stay away, it's not going to work. And if you try to get near me to charge me, it's not going to work. And there is no happy ending for your story here.
Yes, it's the pre-blood surge is what I'm calling it.
Preemptive blood surge. That's what I call it. Yeah,
the pre-blood surge, because no blood has been spilt. They just point at you and you're like, you what, mate? And then you go for him.
You know when the best time to move is? Before you get shot into close combat. It's insane. But it's also the timing, Adam, right? It's your shooting phase. I move into combat with you. Now we're in your fight phase. Nobody charged. This is an ongoing combat. Correct. I get to go first.
You get to go first. It's so juicy, dude. It's so freaking good. 7.1 inches is how far you want to be away from any of these units. Because naturally, if you are within 6 and they move 6, you're within engagement range now. So 7.1 is where you want to be. That's what you want to declare. That's what you want to state.
You could always gamble.
You could. You're not going to roll the 6. I want to use my rapid fire range 12-inch weapon or something, whatever that is. But yes, this is going to be something you all need to know about and you all need to play around and have a plan for, because it's gonna bad touch you. What I love is the in my head, the head canon of the timing is that somehow the sisters feel that you want to do them harm, and then they get you. You haven't.
I don't understand it.
You haven't pointed the guns yet. The guns haven't shot yet. You haven't rolled to hit or to wound or to save. They're just they're considering harming us. Let's get them.
I don't want to get shot. I'm made of 6-up armor. I'm going to just walk into combat. This is just legit. What are we doing?
But that is the totality of the package for the Penitent Host, mate. How do you rate this detachment as a whole?
It's very good. It is very, very good. Now we're feeling some heavy-handed points hits on the Repentia, which I think are necessary because at 110 you would just run 30 and it would actually be insanity.
Freaking god, dude! At 110, it was going to be lunacy.
It was just nuts. But at 180, like these are toughness 3/1 wound models with a 5 with like a 6-up invul and a 5-up feeling pain. Right? They're just gonna die to a stiff breeze, and it's very possible. Like there's lots of counterplay for this. Where like Overwatch, they hate Overwatch, or like they preemptive blood surge and don't get into a combat, then they actually just get shot. They don't like these things. So I think that's going to keep it reasonable in power. But it is very strong. It's very telling you how to play, and its play style is not going to be for everyone. But if you want to play combat melee sisters, this is a detachment for you, and it's awesome.
Yeah. I do think 180 is a little overs in the MFM, but I'm more than happy for it to start high and come down later than the other way.
Yeah, right. I'd rather the game not be broken, even as a sisters player. Penitent engines and mortifiers also going up is quite a ding in this detachment.
I literally was about to say, how do you feel about 75-point pennies and 70-point morties? Yeah, I feel like they're a little overs as well. But
I mean, a 55 was just too cheap for a penitent engine, like crazy cheap. But 75 is like you are only 5 wounds.
Correct. You are not high toughness. You're not awful toughness, but you're not high for what you are. And
it's like not even half as hard to kill as a rhino, and it is the same cost as a rhino. It does way more, but it's kind of apples and oranges. But we're comparing defense to points here.
We are. Arco Flaggies at 150 actually feel about fine.
Yeah, I think at 150 in their 4-up Feel No Pain twin link version, they're probably too good. But I like this. I think this is more reasonable for what they should be.
Yeah, I agree. All right, moving on, my man. Let us get into the next one of these. This is the Burner Nation, the Bringers of Flame. The Fervent Purgation is their the detachment rule. Ranged weapons equipped by Adepta Sororitas models in your army have the assault ability, and each time your attack is made with such a weapon that targets a unit within 12 inches, +1 to the strength of that attack. So exactly the same as the Firestorm in Space Marines, which I'm still a huge fan of the Firestorm, even though it's going to be a bit awkward that you don't get to advance and do actions and things like that anymore. But how do you feel about that detachment rule, brother?
I think it's great. I mean, not only does it just is it easy? Advance and shoot is a good rule. +1 strength is a good rule, but it changes so many breakpoints for sisters. Like your army is made of strength 9 multi-melt. Yeah. All the tanks in the world are toughness 9, toughness 10, and strength 5 heavy bolters and strength 4 and 5 flamers becoming strength 6. Also helps against elite infantry, basic infantry, vehicles. You now win them on 5s. Like it is a game changer on like both sides of your weapon spectrum, and it's so good.
Agreed. All right, what's the first enhancement?
So we've got Righteous Rage, which is a melee enhancement you can give to a character. You can discard up to 3 miracle dice, and you're going to add +1 attack and strength for each miracle die discarded. So something like a jump cannoness or a palatine or a regular cannoness, all of them would love this kind of thing.
It's up to 3 as well, which I like. So you can just go with 1 if that gets you past a breakpoint on strength and or whatever. You can go 2, you can go 3. I like this a lot. It's only 10 points as well, so it is very juicy for 10 points, I think. Manual Ascent Griselda is up next. At the start of your command phase, you can discard up to 2 miracle dice, then add 1 miracle dice to your miracle dice pool, showing the value equal to the sum of the 2. This is kind of cool. This is discard 2 miracle dice, plus them together and turn them into 1, and it's like essentially merge 2 miracle dice. How do you feel about it?
It's good. I think it's definitely the weakest of the 4 in my mind. I usually have ways I can use miracle dice that are low, like cycling them with cherubs or using them for Righteous Rage, as we just saw above. So I'm not eager to actually just get rid of the quantity of miracle dice I have, but sometimes you want another 5 or 6 to wound something or hurt something very badly with a melt shot, and this is a good way to get it.
Yeah, 15 points as well, not breaking the bank by any means.
Definitely.
Next up,
we got Fire and Fury, which of course is one of my favorites in this detachment. You give it to a character, and then while the bearer is leading a unit, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of torrent weapons equipped by models in that unit, and all other ranged weapons in that unit get sustained hits 1. So where this is really nice is you can combo it with a jump cannoness and give her a hand flamer, and then add her to 10 Seraphim with 8 more hand flamers, and now your unit is 9d6 plus 9 flamer shots plus like 12 bolt pistol shots that are also sustained hits. But 9d6 plus 9 flamer shots is an average of like 42 hits. And you'll see there's a strat for dev wounds on your flamer weapons.
And and with +1 to strength and assault as well. Just strap those in addition. And of course, bunch of bolt pistols, like just get sustained hits as well. I love that it gives a buff to both sides, not just the torrent weapons, but torrent weapons, and it gives sustain to the rest. I think it's really good and really well thought out. It will run you 20 points, and probably worth 20 points.
Yeah, I would take this if I was playing this detachment, probably.
All right, Iron Surplus of Saint Estelia, or whatever. Canoness or Palatine only. The bearer has a save characteristic of 2+, and a Feel No Pain 5+ ability. Not sure you're going to bother with this one. It's not bad, though. 2+ and 5+. Some people are paying, 10 points for an enhancement that's just for the 2+. And you get the Feel No Pain as well. But I'm not sure survivability is where you want to try and spend your points in.
It's just not like what Sisters are trying to do. This is probably actually the weakest. I stand corrected, but I'm just not going to take this.
It's 5 points. So if you had 5 points left,
okay,
why
I'll take it for 5, right?
It's exactly right. You will take it for 5, right? All right, what's the first strat, brother?
We got Shield of Aversion, which is just Sisters' Armor of Contempt. It basically reduce the incoming AP of attacks by 1, just like Space Marines, but Sisters.
Can we talk about how that's actually really good for Sisters?
It is. I mean, Sisters have a lot of 2-up saves on their Paragons, 3-up saves on vehicles. Especially you have a 5 in your Miracle Dice pool, but not a 6, and you know your opponent's going to have like a super heavy railgun shot that's going to take you to your 6-up invul. Pop Armor of Contempt. Now you get a 5-up, and then you use the 5 to auto pass it. Like, there are depths to your plays as Sisters. So just any incremental increase that you can get on a die roll, whether it's saves, hits, wounds, whatever, you can manipulate that with Miracle Dice and just totally transform the math.
Exactly right. All right, Righteous Blows is up next. It's in your fight phase. It's 1 CP. Actually, is there any 2 CP strats in this book?
I think there's exactly 1. I don't remember where it is, but
we'll tell you when we get to it. Until then, it's 1 CP all the way, baby. This is in your fight phase of 1 Adepta Sororitas unit from your army that has not been selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, the melee weapons equipped by models in your unit have lethal hits. If one or more enemy models is destroyed as a result of these attacks, they have to take a battle shock. So 1 CP lethal hits in the fight phase. If you already got a Palatine, I mean, this is a reason not to buy a Palatine, I guess, because you just have their ability on demand. How do you feel about it?
It's kind of pointless, honestly. The only unit I think that could really make use of this is either Archiflagellants or Pencha, and those are fine, but this detachment doesn't really incentivize you to take it. So it's like, if you're going to take a unit to be a countercharge, you could theoretically make use of that strat. But the combat unit I'm really interested in for this detachment is Zephyrin with the Jump Canoness.
Agreed.
And they already have lethal hits built into their data sheet.
Yeah, this seems superfluous. And then the rider of the battle shock is just pointless. Like, why is that even there?
I will say Triumph might appreciate lethal hits. She's got 18 attacks.
Oh, that is true, actually. You actually, that is exactly where you'd use this. If you have to use your Triumph to get out of jail. Like,
things melee Triumph is where turn 4 and turn 5 look like.
Fair. All right, what's the next one?
Next, we've got Carry Forth the Faithful, which is another really good one. Basically, you use it on a transport before you move the transport, and you get to reroll the advance roll for it, which is kind of whatever. But the important part is that you can get out of the transport after advancing. So you can basically have a transport with a miracle die, zippity-doos like super far up the table, and then get Sisters out and then hit them blasting something. They're within 12, and they're +1 strength, and like a Retributor squad at strength 10, they can lay some heat down.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I think this is a very cool, especially when everything has assault as well. Like, the transport still gets to shoot.
Yeah.
Because it's got assault on everything, and it's going to get +1 to strength when it gets close as well. I think this is a really cool package, and it brings everything together for me. I like it a lot.
With Miracle Dice allowing you to manipulate your threat range on the advance rolls and stuff, you can go bananas far. Like, when we say Sisters are kind of like Eldar, this is what we're talking about. Like, just for to spoil it a little bit, Triumph has one of her new auras is +2 move, +1 advance, and +1 charge. So you get your transport moving 21 inches, like it moves 12, then functionally +2 move, +1 advance is +3. So that's 15. Then you add a 6, and that's 21. And then you get out 3 is 24. And then you move 24 inches and just annihilated something. That's insane.
You are not safe. You are not safe. Yeah. It feels very Breacher Fish-like, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. Now, you can only use this in one place at one time, so it's not like 6 Breacher Fish are coming at you all at once. But it is, you think you're safe behind your natural expansion ruin in midfield. You are not actually safe there.
Yeah. Agreed. I love it. I think it's fantastic. Cleansing Flames is up next. This is a banger, and this is where the package you were talking about with the full unit of Seraphim with the hand flamers. It's in your shooting phase. One Adepta Sororitas unit from your army is not been selected to shoot. To the end of the phase, torrent weapons equipped by models in your unit have devastating wounds. Now, when I first read this, I was like, who gets a bunch of flamers now? Like, could Dominions still take a bunch of flamers? I know Seraphim can. Can Retributors take heavy flamers? I don't even know anymore. Tell me a story, mate. Where's the best use for this apart from what you've already described?
So you can use this in a bunch of places. I mean, it gets really subtle, really fast, and really powerful. So basically, Dominions have 4 girls can take regular flamers, and then their sergeant can take a hand flamer, and that's 5. And then you add a canoness with a hand flamer and this ability, and that's 6. And then she's got the brazier of holy fire, which is like a once per game flamer, so that's 7. So 76 plus 7, all dev wounds, and it's just coming out of this immolator type thing. And that's it. Or you can do the 10 girl Seraphim squad with 8 hand flamers and canoness with hand flamer jump attached there. 96 plus 9. That unit can move 21 inches, then shoot you, then fire and fade. Wow. It's like there's sky's the limit with this strat. I think the balance is like how many multi-meltas and melta-guns do I need versus how much flamer do I need, and that's a little meta dependent, goal specific, all that stuff.
Yeah, when I saw this, I was like, oh wow, it's uncapped. It's not like the flamer strat for for other detachments is capped at 3 or a 6. This is just dev wounds, open ended, go nuts. And we know now, by the way, guys, dev wounds is now mortal wounds again. What is old is new, and so this is a bit of a bigger deal than it was. There is more defense out there for dev wounds than there was. But it's going to be an interesting pile. So 9d6 plus 9, mate. What's the average dice roll there? We got any brains in our heads right now?
We got this math on the tip of our tongue. This is like what I've spent the last 2 weeks thinking about.
Oh, you got it on the whiteboard.
We've got 42 shots. Your strength 5. You averaging 6, 7 mortal wounds, depending on how many 6s you feel like rolling. You can always use miracle dice to just artificially make more mortal wounds, and then your strength 5. Like that's a reasonable number. You're winning those things on 4s or 5s.
Yeah, it's wild. Like you actually are just killing a tank. Like you are just popping a rhino for a CP. All right, what is the next one?
The next we've got Rites of Fire. Actually, before we do Rites of Fire, I just want to harp one more second on the Devastating Wounds one. You can also use it on Penitent Engines because like a unit of 2 is 4d6 flamers, and they're twin linked.
Twin linked. That's right. That is actually big. Praise be you can't run any more than 2. Because that would
praise be that and the actually needed points increase. 55 was gonna see 6 in most of my lists.
Agreed. Well, see. I'm weird on whether you take them at all now. I do think just one unit that moves auto advances 6 and charges.
It's a good unit.
It's a good unit, man.
It's a good unit.
Yeah.
They also appreciate the bring it down change. Now they don't give up nearly as many bring it down points for being
exactly right. Exactly right. You got 1 left on 2 wounds, and you're like, well, he's just hiding now. This objective is now his. And if you do kill him, he's going to stick you there anyway. So whatever. Yeah. Happy days. Sorry, but moving back to the burninating detachment, Rites of Fire is up next, mate. Tell us a story.
So this is one that synergizes nicely with them disembarking after you advance strat. This one lets you take a unit that got out of a transport, and if it's shooting a unit on an objective and it got out of transport, so it's 2 conditions, but they're both pretty easy, you can get +1 to wound. So that's really nice in terms of changing brave points, right? Because like a strength 9 melta-gun, multi-melta shooting a toughness 10 tank is very common, and you're wounding on 5s. But now you're strength 10, you're wounding on 4s, and then you're using this strat, you're wounding on 3s. And all of a sudden, like what was once very hard is now very easy, and stuff be dying.
Correct. And what I always love about this stuff is the roll-on effect. I always call this like the snowball effect of Sisters. The bigger the band of dice that will activate your attack, the bigger the band of miracle dice become available for your use. As soon as you wound on 4s with the melter gun, well, your miracle dice 4s are now good. When you're wounding on 5s, the 4s were useless. Now,
or not only that, but like the easier it is to hit or wound, the less likely I need to bother with a miracle dice to hit or wound, so I can save it for the damage.
Exactly right. And they just get better the longer you hold them into the activation. The hit, the wound, the damage, the better they get. So yeah, 100%. And then there's also a little rider here that says you have to take a battle shock test at the end if you're not dead. But you're going to be dead.
You got to remember to tell your opponent that, because that doesn't come up much.
That does not. Last one is Blazing Ire. It's in your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has shot. One transport unit from your army that was selected to target those units, the attacking units' attacks. I hate that line. One unit embarked within your transport can disembark as if it was your movement phase and can then shoot as if it was your shooting phase and must target the enemy unit that was shooting the transport, and they must be an eligible target, of course. So this is exactly the same as the Firestorm stratagem, and I got to say, I love this stratagem, but I use this stratagem with Azrael and 10 Hellblasters in a Redeemer, and you're like, oh, you want to kill my Land Raider? Well, Azrael kills you. How do you feel about this in the context of Sisters? Because as far as I can tell, it's what? Retributors?
Yeah, you're not really going to make use of this as awesome as it sounds. Like, it's a good niche strat, and there are going to be times where you want to use it. I played a practice game a few weeks ago, or a few days ago, rather, actually, where they moved up a Piranha right next to my Immolator because they wanted to contest the objective. And Piranha's got a fusion blaster and 2 secret missiles, so he was going to be like, let me try to pop your Immolator real quick. And I was like, I will get out and just annihilate your Piranha and take back this objective. So he just didn't shoot me. So I didn't get to use my rule, but my rule led to an effect of not being shot here, which could have hurt my Immolator pretty badly. So it is a rule you kind of inform your opponent about, and they can make the choice whether they want to get burned by it. If there was another scenario where it was like a Riptide 20 inches away, I think he would just shoot me and I would get out and not be in range, and it would be a pointless maneuver. So very niche stuff over here.
Yeah, I still like that it's there, but it's not the same. It's not the same effect as the Firestorm. You don't have these units of. You don't have a unit of Eradicators to jump out of this thing. You don't have something of that ilk that's just going to lay that hammer blow. But it is a deterrent. It is good, and it can really change a lot of metrics. Well, straight up, someone wants to chip damage, or someone's lining up a charge, and they're going to wrap and trap your Rhino, and they just want to shoot some bolt pistols with their Berserkers on the way in. Well, you just get them out before they charge on the other side of the Rhino, and maybe they can't make the charge. Maybe just becomes safe now. Don't have to worry about it being trapped and having emergency disembark and all these other things, and they just get out safely. You can use it for a lot of different things.
It also just changes the OC, right? Like even the example I just gave.
Yep.
Let's say I just got out and missed my shots on the Piranha. I still just have now 8 OC on the objective.
Correct. Exactly right. You don't have to worry about being battle shocked if your transport dies and you have to disembark, because then you're 0 AC. Anyway, that is the end of the Bringers of Flame, man. And this comes with a lot of hype. So this I see this as the MSU mechanized detachment, and I like it a lot. I think this is the one. This is just if you don't want to think too hard, just take good, solid, well-rounded sister stuff and play a very strong style of list. I think this is a really good way to go. How do you feel about it in totality?
Yeah, this is the sister shooting detachment. I think another thing we didn't even talk about, because this detachment does so much obvious support for girls in transports, is things like Paragons and Castigators, especially. Castigators get such a glow up in this detachment. They love advance and shoot. They love +1 strength on all their heavy bolters, and I like the autocannon now as the go-to weapon, actually, not the battle cannon. And that going up to strength 10. Immolators got a data sheet change, which allows them to ignores cover to whatever they shot at. It no longer gives you real wounds, but you shoot an Immolator at something, ignores cover. You shoot a Castigator at something, now it gives you an extra point of AP. You can really stack increasing damage from not just girls and Immolators with Meltas and Flamers, but like your just vehicle spam is really strong here.
In addition, like just having a detachment for sisters that has armor contempt is just never going to be a bad place to be. And like you said, I think the best, to me, when I read this, I was like, this is the Morven Val detachment. Morven Val so loves advance and shoot. All those melters, all those multi-melters, and even the missiles and the whatever, love the +2 strength. I think everything about this just feels good for Val.
And the Triumph also so good in this detachment. +2 move, +1 advance, and
dude,
guarantee your advances super far, and then you get line of sight on something, people die.
Potent, absolutely potent. All right, we have one more detachment. This one is Army of Faith. Sacred Rites is the detachment rule. Each Adepta Sororitas unit from your army can perform 2 acts of faith per phase instead of 1. Wow! Straight off the bat, when I first read this, I was like, how can that not be busted when every unit in your army can do 2 things every turn.
It is great. Don't get me wrong. You could really shift how you want to gear your turns because you can just be like, I'm not going to die this turn. I just have 2 pass saves for all my units, or
Correct.
I am going to kill you this turn. I hit you, I wound you, and then here's 6 damage,
Exactly right. All right, tell us about the first of the enhancements.
So we got Litanies of Faith. You can give it to a Canis or Palatine only, and then every one of your command phases that the bearer is on the table, you'll take a leadership test, and if you pass, you gain a miracle dice.
Nice. 10 points.
Yeah, I probably am taking Canises and Palatines, and I'm probably going to give them this relic because I like miracle dice. This detachment, especially using twice as many miracle dice, means you will run out faster, so you'll want to generate more.
Agreed. Blade of St. Eleanor finds its new home here, at least in name, because effect has changed. Improve the strength and armor penetration characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons by 1, and those weapons have precision. In addition, each time the bearer fights, if one or more enemy models are destroyed by those attacks, you gain 1 miracle dice. Starting to see a theme here, mate. The Blade of St. Eleanor will run you 15 points.
Yeah, and this, if you destroy a model, you'll gain a miracle dice thing is really low bar. It's so easy to destroy a model. And on top of that, that's a theme we'll see in this detachment. There's like 3 or 4 effects that give you a miracle die for destroying a model. So that's going to all funnel into using 2 miracle dice per phase thing.
Agreed. What's the next one?
Next, we've got Divine Aspect, which is in the movement phase, you can select an enemy unit within 12. They take a battle shot test. If they fail, not only are they battle shots, but you also gain a miracle die.
5 freaking points.
Yeah, this is if you have the character available and you are not literally at 2,000, you are taking this relic.
Agreed. It is just a little value engine. I'm a fan. Just like it's in your movement phase. And it doesn't mean you have to do it at the start or end of a move. If someone's moved within 12 of you, you get to just be like, I'm going to battle shock you before I move and see if you overwatch me. That kind of stuff is just power. I think that's kind of cute. And for 5 points,
or it's like you cause a battle shock, someone fails, and it's like, oh, I don't actually have to work hard to kill your unit to get cleansed or whatever. I just am cleansing because you're not on it.
Yeah, you walk up and, you wonder if you need to drive the Rhino on to contest the objective. Battle shock them, see if they're OC0 now. And, then just go take the objective.
That's so true.
Really cool. Triptych of the Macarian Crusade. Adepta Sororitas model only. Each time the bearer uses an active face, substitute a saving throw. That saving throw is successful, irrespective of the value of the miracle dice used. And so that is being used twice. That's 2 auto passed. As long as you have any miracle dice, this character can double auto pass saves.
So that's just nice. The character is going to be the last one in your unit. Like this would be super broken on like Celestine or Vol or Triumph, but they can't take the enhancement. And like a Canis or a Palatine, this is not so crazy, but it is nice.
20 points. It's the most expensive. And the fact is, I like all the enhancements. I think I like the first one the best, just leadership test miracle dice. That feels really good. But man, Divine Aspect is a lot of fun for 5 points. We need more 5-point enhancements in the game, dude. Where are these 5-point value enhancements in my books? Why are they here?
Because the sisters get the nice things, Adam. That's just the way it works.
All right, mate. What's the first of the strats?
So we've got some weirdly worded strats here. There's 3 of them in particular. They basically work by affecting your jump infantry units, and then your jump infantry units become an aura of 3 inches around the entire unit, and they give you an ability. So this one you can use on an Adepta Sororitas unit just after the unit suffers a mortal wound. Then you pick a Adepta Sororitas jump pack unit, so Seraphim, Zephyrim, Celestine, any of those. And then all the units within 3 inches of it gain a 5+ female pain from mortal wounds. So basically, it's a really long-winded way to turn your jump infantry units into auras. Yeah. And then the aura for this strat is 5 of female pain from mortals.
Correct. Any good now, especially with dev wounds reverting back to type?
I mean, it can be. It's like you're not going to use this strat all the time. You're going to use it when you're getting butt blasted by Doombolt from T-Suns,
Correct. That's exactly right. A lot of the Emperor's up next. This is in your command phase, and 1 Adepta Sororitas unit from your army. To the end of the turn, your unit is blessed. While the unit is blessed, it can endure any roll modifiers to the profile characteristics of its weapon skill or ballistic skill characteristic of weapons equipped with, or any roll or test made for it, excluding modifiers to saving throw. If your unit has the jump pack keyword, then you get the aura of that and you bless everybody within 3 inches.
So same thing. Another aura thing. You bless your jump pack unit. Everyone within 3 ignores modifiers. But it's a very weird version of ignore modifiers, and I don't know why they can't be consistent with this, and I'm mad at them for that. But basically, you don't ignore damage mods. So if someone's like half damage or -1 damage, you suck at dealing with that. And you don't ignore armor of contempt. So like 2 of the main things I want to ignore, I don't get to ignore here. Yeah, but it's still nice versus like Death Guard or something.
You literally are ignoring popping smoke and lightning fast reactions is pretty much the way I'm reading this.
Yeah, like you'll ignore fortune, which is a real pain in the ass for sisters to deal with, like a fortuned avatar. But
yeah, that's true.
It's pretty niche.
Yeah, that is actually pretty big if it does come to pass. What is the next one?
Next, we've got Faith and Fury, which is a great strat and one that synergizes very nicely with all your Zephyrin that you really want to take in this detachment. Yes. It gives your unit Lance, and if they kill a model, you gain a miracle dice. So like Zephyrin was strength 4, and most sister stuff is strength garbage. So +1 to wound is like awesome.
Huge. Yeah. This is the best strat in this detachment, I think, by far. You're already super incentivized to just all in on the jump pack units, and even like, I mean, I don't even hate using this on Seraphim in a pinch to just like.
No, I mean, I use this on Solo Celestian, use this on Repentia, use this on like anybody loves Lance. Like your army is strength 3 to 5 in combat.
Yeah. It's just always going to be good. All right, Blinding Radiance, which is the last of the 3-pack of weird jump pack aura things. It's in your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, just after enemy unit selected as targets. 1 unit from your army that's selected as the target of those attacks. Or 1 jump pack unit within 3 of such a unit. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets your unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. If you target a jump pack unit from your army, you get the 3-inch aura of -1 to hit. This one is the least niche. Your army is just
one. I think you actually just use like almost every turn. Like -1 to hit shooting or melee is just good.
It is just plain good. And the fact that you can turn it into an aura, you can just use it on anything, or you can turn it into an aura. I like the duality on this one. The other 2 feel super awkward and way too niche for the amount of freaking text on them. Like,
yeah, right. The wording not worth the effort, but I mean, I appreciate having the ability to ignore mods when I want to. That's when you it sucks getting modified and being able to be like, your avatar is not fortuned, even if it happens once a tournament, is still a nice thing.
You and I read so many stratagems. When I see a density of word on a strat, I assume it's good. I start with the assumption that it's going to do something interesting.
Like it's worth the time I'm going to take to read this.
Correct.
Yes.
And then the first 2 of these versions, I was like, whatever, mate. Absolutely whatever.
Well, this one, on my first few read-throughs of this book, I did not realize that it didn't work on damage or armor content. I just thought it was ignore mods, because why would it be different? And then I was rating this detachment so much more highly. I was like, screw your Satan and screw your this and screw your that. I'm going to just hurt you now.
Yeah, I agree. All right, what is the next one, my dude?
So next we've got Divine Guidance. We're done with the jump pack aura strats. That's nice. This one is basically in shooting or fight phase +1 AP, and if you kill a model, you guessed it, you gain a miracle dice.
1 CP +1 AP in shooting or fight phase.
Yeah, so this gets you AP1 Arcos, which is an enormous deal, and then Triumph, one of her auras, is instead of lethal hits, which it used to be, is now turned to +1 AP in melee. So you get AP2 Arcos, AP4 Power Swords. In shooting, you get AP1, AP2 Heavy Flamer, Heavy Bolter Action. That's really all I'd use it for. Like, melted guns don't care about this.
Yeah, agreed. But I think this is fantastic. Such a wild strat.
Armor of Contempt is such a problem for sisters. Like, I cannot tell you how hard it is to shift 5 Deathwing Terminators with in cover with Armor of Contempt. Like, it's just like impossible. And getting AP4 to get them to their 4+ invulns is a huge deal.
Yeah, well, between this and an Immolator, like, you can strip the cover, essentially negate the AOC. Like, there's a lot of interplay to be had here.
Right.
The last one is Angelic Descent. It's end of your opponent's fight phase. 1 a jump pack unit from your army. Remove a unit from the battlefield, place it into strategic reserve. You can just select a unit that is within engagement range.
I love this strat, Adam.
Oh, Mate,
I have yearned for a go back in reserve strat. Like it's been.
Dude.
I run like 6 units of jump pack girls and solo Celestine in many of my index sisters lists. So to have a detachment that tells me I can go back in reserve with them, it just warms my little sister soul.
I'm so curious. This detachment to me is a tale of two halves. You have the awkward 3 strats that don't seem worth the squeeze, and then they're just like Lance +1 AP, recycle into reserve units. And you're like, why would I ever bother reading or using the other 3 when these 3 are bread and butter, mother's milk, freaking bangers? Just
-1 to hit is also good. I'm not gonna be mad about that one. It's a lot of words on the text and a little awkward wording, but like my vehicle's a -1 to hit like that.
That is true. That is -1 to hit is very good. When I first read through this codex on my first pass through, I was of the opinion that this was the best detachment.
I was too. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, because I was of the opinion that Sisters players, and might not be the best detachment on release, because I think this one, unlike the Pennant Engine, Unga Bunga, I Go Quick, You Are Dead, this will take quite a bit more finesse to put together. But once it is done and generals get to a certain level of command point and miracle dice economy, this army can do anything at any time, all the time, twice.
I think this is an amazing singles list, right?
Yes,
it's
that's
so
true.
Take all's comer. You run into someone who actually has mods, you have the answer. You run into some weird guy who does mortals, you have the answer. You have -1 to hit army wide, and you have Lance, you are now good at combat. You have extra AP, you can fight Armor of Contempt. 2 miracle dice, you shift your strategy turn by turn based on what your goals are.
Yep. Just get that miracle dice engine going and generate, an extra 3 a turn, and then just be like, do you want something to be done? There are no uncertainties for this army, for this detachment. There are no uncertainties. You know
what also really gets a glow up in this detachment? Exorcists. Exorcists can get 2, and they go up to AP3 as well in this like a base stat line thing. So they can go up to AP4, potentially AP5, potentially Norse cover if we're getting crazy with it with castigators and immolators. And you get some wounds through. Let's say you get to the point where you actually have 2 damage rolls to make, and you're just like, take 10. Your vehicle's automatically dead. We're not rolling dice here.
Yep. And for 190 with its glow up, I actually don't hate it compared to a lot of the other price points of what I think is a 1 or a 2 pick, a 1 or a 2 pick at absolute most. You're not going to be Unga Bunga 3 Exorcists into your army. They're not worth that. But as a single with double act of faith, I actually like it a lot, man.
Literally 1 Exorcist to just let you blow something up behind a wall that you have no business blowing up.
Yep. You have the most consistent indirect piece in the game now because everything else hits on 4s, and yours like, well, mine doesn't actually roll to hit. It just hits because I've cracked up like to faith, baby.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends where you wanna invest those miracle dice, because 2 is not auto hits, auto wounds, auto 6 damage. You have to choose. Correct. But sometimes you're wounding on 3s with your strength 10 gun. So you can afford to use it on those hit rolls where actually it's harder because you're hitting on 4s, and maybe the damage, you're just happy to get damage through at that point. Absolutely.
Exactly right. All right. So how do you evaluate the entire package now that you've seen the because I love that you and I are both the same, being like, this is the best one. But where do you sit now with Army of Faith?
So I think it's very similar to what you said, Adam. This one takes a lot of time to really come to grips with, because I played all the detachments except for the new Hollowed Martyrs. I only have like 1,000 reps with the index version, and I think Penitent Host has the most raw upfront, like, I am just going to table you. Yeah, like this is just straight line power. It starts. It's World Eaters, but it's Sisters, right? Yeah. And then beyond that, I think Bringers of Flame is like the shooting detachment, which has the most destructive power while still being like a well-rounded army, but it really lacks combat. Like, not playing in the fight phase is a real problem, and you could take combat units, but it has no support for it, so it's kind of bad. And then Sisters, by definition, like by their army characteristic, is like a combined arms force. They have some shooting, they have some melee, and if they skip one of those elements, it can be rough for them when their opponent overloads, like in the combat side. And Army of Faith and Hallowed Martyrs both give you a lot of options on both sides of the spectrum. I'm not sure which of those 2 is better, but I think those 2 are like my go-to if I was trying to win a singles turn, like LVOs next week. Let me go. And then I would like just get some reps with each of them to see which one I like better and refine to both. And then like Penitent Host and Bringers of Flame, to me, are like more skewed. So in singles, you run the risk of like, oops, I ran into a skew or a matchup that I can't handle. And in teams, it's just about your matchup matrix. So it's like, I am okay forfeiting XYZ matchups because I'm going to slam dunk ABC matchups.
Yeah, correct. I think I like that Army of Faith seems to have the highest ceiling, but it's hard to get to. Like you need to be proficient with all of your mechanics to get the most out of this detachment. But whereas you're exactly right, if you just play good shooting units in Bringers of Flame, you're going to do well. Oh, look, you took penitent units in the penitent army, you're probably doing just fine.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, it's more like, how do you play the combat phase than how do you play your army, right?
Exactly right. Yeah. It's just, are you competent in the combat phase? Anyway, that is going to bring us to the end of the detachments review. We're now going to go through a trail of destruction and revamped data sheets as Nick takes us through his top 5 in most improved or data sheets you need to know about this new Sisters Codex to have a chance against it on the tabletop. Because unlike previous and many other codexes, this has seen way more glow-ups in data sheets than we are used to.
Yeah, that's true. But usually these data sheets like don't change, or like small nerfs here or there. But like this is like data sheets are just different now.
Correct.
And they cost different too. Like they are different units now.
Exactly right. We're going to start with the Triumph, which will run you how many points now? It'll run you 190?
190, 50 points up from the previous index version. So she started at 110 way back in the day, and she's gone up. She's got her some auras that are different. Largely, she does the same thing, right? She's 18 wounds, T3, 3 up, 4 up, quite the beast. But now she has choose 2 miracle dice or use 2 miracle dice on units within 6. So kind of pseudo Army of Faith for anybody there. Then she's got 6 of Feeling Pain. That's still there. The lethal hits in melee aura changed to +1 AP in melee, which is very side grady. And then she has another aura, which, hold on, let me pull up her data sheet right here. I just don't want to misquote you. She has another aura of reroll 1s to wound and shooting, which is nice, especially in Bringers of Flame. Really good on castigators who have no innate rerolls. She has another aura of reroll battle shocks, which you will use in the most niche of times.
Mm-hmm.
And her reason you're taking this model is +2 move, +1 advance, and +1 charge the aura for your army. And
what the hell?
Triumph can move around the table, right? Like, so she can start her game on like one section of your army. It all moves out super fast. She runs over to the next section of your army, and now it all moves super fast. It's just crazy.
Well, she's moving min 10, right? Because she's plus, if she advances, it's automatically a 2 on the advance at a minimum, and she moves +2. So she's moving 8. She's automatically moving 10 inches no matter what.
So basically, you can simplify her aura down to +3 move, like if you're going to advance. And +3 move is just like such a good rule. We talk about how Warhammer is won and lost in movement. We're not making that crap up. And +3 move is an amazing, amazing ability.
So what just annoys me so much is that she has 6 auras, 6, like 4 of them are good, and she gets to pick 2.
Yeah, I mean, I went through all of them, right? But like,
Lion has 3, none of them are good, and he gets 1.
This ain't about the line. This is the Sisters Codex with you, Adam. Get out of here. She has another rule because 6 auras wasn't enough of a rule.
Wasn't enough. No.
She, at the start of the battle round, she just gives you an extra miracle die, which is a 6, which is so good because you start the game with an auto pass save for that railgun, or you start the game with a 21-inch advance on your Seraphim to blow up their deployments on turn 1. You just start the game working. Like, you want to go max threat range or Pensha turn 1 and your Penitent Host, you just have it.
Yeah, she's auto include, man. Until justified, until you can make a good argument in front of the masses, auto include. As long as you got the model.
I think you can actually run lists without her, in all honesty, but she also is great. Like, the thing is, you have more than 2,000 points of Great Sisters units, so you get to not include some auto includes, but only because there are so many auto includes.
All right, what is another unit we need to talk about, brother?
We have to talk about Zephyrim with the new jump canonist, and I kind of pair these two together in my mind. So Zephyrim went up to 90 points from 60, 50% increase, which sucks because their defense did not improve, but their offense sure did. Instead of getting +1 strength on the charge, now they get sustained hits or lethal hits, or you can discard a miracle die, like your 1 or your 2 or whatever, and you get both. And then the jump canonist has, she's 75 points. She joins the Zephyrim. She has 5 attacks at strength 5, AP 2, 2 damage. The Zephyr will give her sustain and lethal. Once per game, she can just choose to be +3 attacks. So she's 8 attacks, strength 5, AP 2, 2 damage, sus and lethal. And if you recall, as we went through every single detachment, there is some support, usually enhancement, sometimes a strat, sometimes both, to buff up a character. And then you're stacking, it's just stacking buffs to make someone stupid, right? Like if you can go in Hallowed Martyrs, +1 strength, +1 attack, +1 damage on top of +3 attacks, on top of sus lethal. This is, and Dev Wounds. She also gets Dev Wounds. Yeah, she just goes nuts. And then, of course, there's Miracle Dice coupled with Dev Wounds is a great combo. And then adding the 15 attacks from the Zephyr are obviously very good. In Penitent Host, she just slams. In the Bringers of Flame, she has access to lethal hits, which isn't actually that helpful, but she has that relic, which can discard 1 to 3 Miracle Dice to give you more strength and more attacks, get her up to strength 8 in that detachment. And then she'll get Lance in Army of Faith. She just, this unit has had such a transformation from 60 point, like, I'm going to go out there, do an action move, block you and throw a grenade, to I'm going to like wreck a unit. I actually had this unit in reserve in one of my practice games, and I just came in and I used a 6 on a miracle die, and I had to roll 3, but I was near triumph, so I had to roll 2 because I'm +1 charge. So I had to hit a 2 up to get a 9-inch charge out of reserves, and I just slammed 5 Rubric Marines and a character with the Lord of Forbidden Lore just right out of the Thousand Suns army. That's like a 220 point package.
Wow, that's revolting.
Yeah, this unit has gotten such a glow up, and you don't want to be sleeping on it because this unit is 6 jump cannons, 6 little jump girls, most of which are just like bullet catchers, will kill most of units in your army.
It's actually terrifying. And for 90 points plus 75, so 165 plus an enhancement, maybe you add, we'll just say 20 points, 185, and you have what I think is now one of the most flexible and premium trading units in the game.
Yeah, because it can go so far, so fast out of nowhere. Rapid ingress, use triumph. It's got so much deliverability options that it really gets to connect to its target, and it will wreck its target.
Absolutely, I'm a huge fan, and thank you for bringing that one up, because that is one of the new premium packages. I think one of the beautiful combos. I mean, I people take assault intercessors with a captain and put it in a transport and say that's a good trading unit, and then that unit is 100 points less and so much better.
Right.
Yeah. All right, mate. What is another package we can talk about?
Here's another one. Dominions. They got such a glow up and no one is even talking about it. So Dominion Scout, they always have, and they can get combat squatted by an immolator. So you have 5 regular bolter girls and then probably 4 melta guns and an inferno pistol in your immolator. Although you could go for flamers if you want. And the immolator scout and the 5 girls will scout. Now the 5 girls have a simulacrum, which changed. So the simulacrum now doesn't get you miracle dice if you kill a unit. Now you roll if you're holding an objective, and if you roll a 4 up, you gain a miracle die. So these 5 little bolter girls with a simulacrum can just camp your home field because somebody has to, and 5 melt-a-gun girls in an immolator drive around doing melt-a-gun immolator things. And then here's the real sauce, Adam. Once you get out and you're kind of like exposed, you're doing your thing, you're like, why am I here? You have a reactive move. So if your opponent ends a move within 9 inches of you, you can move D6 inches, and you can use that to re-embark into your immolator.
In the immolator.
So if you have like your Dominions and immolator like on an objective, and your opponent wants to move to within 9 inches of you to charge you, or move onto the objective in the movement phase, you're going to trigger this rule. And then you're just going to get back in. So now we have fire and fading melta-guns in our sister's army. How many times do I have to compare this to Eldar?
No, you do not need to anymore. It is exactly what this is. This is, a more punchy version of Eldar. And it's wild. I would like to talk about a package myself.
Of course.
Which I identified in the in my review of things. Hospitaller with Sacrosanct.
Yeah. That's a tough one.
This is wild. I'm going to go to the Sacrosanct data sheet, tell you a story there. All right, so they still have their -1 to wound joined by a character. They still come with a 3+, 4+ invulnerable save. There's a bunch of ways, especially in the Army of Faith, to make these guys better, giving them Lance, giving them plus AP, especially makes their maces feel a lot better. With Lance at strength 4 -2 damage, with lethal hits or the sustained on the anointed halberds. And of course, you have the spear, which is actually pretty legit. But the Hospitaller is just a house of a unit. So whilst this model's leading a unit, you have a 5 up, feel no pain. So already you attach the Hospitaller to the Sacrosanct and then -1 to wound with a 4+ invuln, 5 up, feel no pain. Whilst this model is leading a unit, in your command phase, you can return up to 1 destroyed model, excluding character models, to that unit. If you wish, you can discard 1 miracle dice. If you do so, you can return D3 + 1 models to this unit. So resurrecting just as good as Necron Warriors, but you are, tough. You are with a 4-up invulnerable save, -1 to wound, 5 up, feel no pain.
Don't forget -1 to hit, Adam. This is why we're taking Army of Faith.
This is true. -1 hit, -1 to wound, 4-up invuln, 5-up feel no pain, regenning up to 4 models a turn. This is a good unit. As for the points for this, the Hospitaller was it's still 50 points. Actually, I think that went up. I think that actually went up.
No, they're still 50. They're still 50.
Oh, they're still 50? And Sacrosancts will run
They're up to 150.
150. So they've gone up a little bit. Yeah. That makes it a little bit less palatable, but it's still such a house of a combo. If you want an army that just has 1 unit with staying power, or you want to start a trade war in the middle and you don't want to put out an explosive unit, you can just put this out and be like, well, you have to try and put like 2 or 3 units into this because you can't guarantee you're going to do it with 2 acts of faith.
Funny you mentioned this unit. I actually tried a list with 30 of these things with 3 Hospitallers, and that was not it. 30 is too far. You're not actually that tough. But 1 unit, like you were saying, is a really nice, durable tool. And it doesn't have to be an Army of Faith. You don't need the -1 to hit. Like any detachment can really appreciate this, a durable unit in Sisters, because that's something you sorely are missing.
Yeah, the only reason I went with it's not Active Faith that has Armor Contempt, is it? It's
that's Bringers of Flame has Armor of Faith.
Yeah, that was the other place where I thought it would find a home.
Yeah, it can definitely be a good home there too. They don't have a 2-up save. If you stack in Imagifier in there, they'll get a 2-up save, and then they can stat that with Armor of Contempt too.
How dumb is the Imagifier?
If I was going to go down that route, I'd probably just add an Imagifier to regular Battle Sisters. They also, she'll get the Imagifier, half her buff is wasted because she gets a 2-up armor and a 4-up invul. This unit already has a 4-up invul, but regular Battle Sisters can appreciate some durability.
What is she doing in the unit? So whilst this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have a save characteristic of 2+ and a 4+ invulnerable save. When I read that, I was like, have they ever printed this before? Is this something that...
Do you know what a Imagifier model is? It's like a sister that's holding a giant banner. Yeah. So I like to think that the banner is just so shiny that it literally blinds the enemy, so they just hit the armor worse. I don't know. How does a banner do this? I don't know. I got nothing.
Does she wave the banner in front? And they just spooked. But the fact is, I haven't seen them print a rule on a character where a character just gives an armor save and an invulnerable save increase to a unit. I haven't seen that yet this edition.
Yeah, I mean, she went up in points, but whatever. She should.
But whatever. Right. Yeah. All right. I think we're up to possibly our last picks, mate. Give us one of yours.
Mine's gonna have to go out to Triumph and not Triumph, Vol and the Paragons, the good old-fashioned Volgons. Now, I never was a big fan of this unit in the index, but I will say their Volgon or the Paragon datasheet changed whatever their datasheet ability was that I genuinely don't know to +1 to hit, +1 to wound against monsters and vehicles. And Triumph joined to them, gives them full rerolls to hit and full rerolls to wound. And, every detachment can appreciate this unit. But if you do it in Bringers of Flame, not only do they get advance and shoot, but also +1 strength. And we talked about how when you stack +1 strength with +1 to wound on your strength 9 multi-melta, your strength 4 stormbolters, whatever you're doing, you transform the match. Like, it is common for me to kill 2 vehicles in 1 activation with that unit in the shooting phase and then charge something else and put it into the dumpster.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That even before, I think it was probably maybe 60-40. Good Sisters list had the Val unit, had the Valgons. And now, if you're bringing Bringers of Flame, it's almost auto include. It just self-populates.
Now, it's still a lot of points. It actually went up in points. So I still think there's a legitimate argument between Valgons versus just more stuff, and I think that applies for every detachment. But in Bringers of Flame and in every detachment, really, there is a home for the Volgons if you want there to be.
Yeah, agreed. All right, one more if you got it, baby.
You want one more? I got one more. I got these for days, Adam. We've got Repentia. Repentia went through the roof, banana land crazy. Reroll hits, reroll wounds, strength 6. They get access to lethal hits to the Palatine, and mostly it's just the penitent host buffs that go nuts on this, like critical 5s. Do you know how far Repentia goes, Adam? Do you have any idea?
Like 7. Like, is it 17 or 19? Then declare charge.
It is more. So your base move is 7. You're getting out of a Rhino for +3 is 10.
Yep.
The Triumph is, as discussed, +3, 13. You have a 6 automatically in your bank, 19.
+1, 20.
No, we already counted that because Triumph's +3. But you're choosing to be in your Doctrine for +3 move in Penitent Host, 22. Then I'm going to declare charge.
Wow.
When you literally deploy a Rhino on the line, walk into your opponent's deployment zone and say, I'm just going to charge you, and it's top of turn 1, that's when you feel powerful.
Why? And I'll say this again, why did they just give them reels to hit, reels to wound as their friggin' ability? Their ability is reels to hit, reels to wound.
They needed it.
No, they didn't. Make them just delete that, make them 120 points again, and we're fine.
You can, when you're in the +1 attack and strength Doctrine and their 3 attacks a model, you can have, like, with crit 5s and the Palatine for lethal, like 3 of them average a tank. So you can like split attacks and kill like 3 vehicles with 1 unit. It is just nuts.
They are, my man, they are Kraken Steelers.
They are. It's literally back in the day, Kraken Gene Steelers, just sister style.
Kraken Steelers. Yep, sister style. They are very susceptible to minuses to hit in combat because, of course, they hit on 4s. They'll go to 5s with rerolls. It's not going to save you.
When you're crit lethal 5s and sustained 5s, like, you're only looking for the 5s. Who even cares that you hit on 4s?
Exactly right. You can overwatch them and kill half the squad. It's not going to save you.
Well, that's another thing I found with the detachment. If you often you don't need to just go 22 inches. You can actually just go like 18, 19. Roll the advanced roll like a normal human, and then set yourself up a little further from your opponent. Dodge a nasty overwatch or a reactive move or some weird thing that could mess you up, and then use your 6 on the charge to just get in anyway.
It's ridiculous. They are so good. Praise be, 180 points is the only thing holding them somewhat in check.
Imagine when they were 110. I don't even.
Oh my god,
what would we be doing?
Yeah, it's the worst. It was the worst timeline. Arco Flagellant's just going to point out that they're virtually exactly the same, but they've got a feel no pain of 5+ instead of 4+ now.
I think we'd also be remiss not to mention the Retributor change. They get reroll 1s to wound when they shoot, or reroll wound rolls if they're targeting something that has already killed a sister's units. They're a great like mid-game momentum turner. Yeah,
I agree. I actually quite like Retributors in a bunch of different ones, especially the Bringers of Flame. I think a 1 unit of 10 feels very good.
You can't take the cap at 5, but you can.
Oh, they cap at 5 now. Yeah. That's right. Oh, of course, I went down this rabbit hole being like, what if I took 30 Retributors with Imagifiers for 2 or 4+?
Yeah, I really would.
You would. And then I learned that they're only 5s. But all right, my dude, that is going to bring us an end to this review. We have our usual 2 rating systems that we do at the end of every book. As a Sisters Players, my man, and speaking on behalf of Sisters Players everywhere, how happy do you think Sisters Players will be or should be with this book out of 10?
12, 13, 400, I don't know, like way more than you should be happy. If you watched my sister's YouTube review on the Art of War 40K YouTube channel, there was a candid read through. I had not read the book beforehand, and my face went from like, excited to be there talking about the new rules to like kid on Christmas who's 8 years old. Like, it was true, genuine, like such excitement, and that's what you should experience, because not only do you have 4 amazing detachments and cool data sheets, you also have the excitement of new points and an exciting new playstyle and ways to look at your units and ways to explore the faction. The internal balance is awesome. The power level of the Codex respect to the game is awesome. I mean, your sisters, and you're loving it. This might be the best Codex they've written if your sisters play.
This 100%, this is the best. I think this is the best Codex I've ever had. It's the deepest and most well-rounded. The previous 2 codexes have had good play and good lists, but from a very small subset of builds and detachments and stuff like that. Like, I mean, it was just Bloody Rose last edition. I played against Argent Shroud once. when the FAQ was the wrong way for what they got to do. And then it was just bloody rose the entire edition. This, I believe, will give Sisters players a lot more playability for years to come, and there's going to be a multitude of different iterations and attachments for people to explore and enjoy. So on that terms, I 100% agree. I think it's a 10 out of 10, knocked out of the park. And it's not. And when we go to our competitive rating system, which is going to be very hard to do, of course, the pretty much the game just like had a soft reset with the letters balance, all those things. But if you were to say, in your professional opinion, Nick Nanavati, sir, where do you see these guys in the competitive tier list right now?
Oh, what a question,
it's
Adam.
So freaking hard.
This is with respect to the fact that everything just changed, right?
Well, dude, all the formerly best armies in the game have been nerfed, and a bunch of, Admech is a brand new faction, Tyranny is a brand new lease on life, Orcs, Necrons, Sisters, and CSM have both taken a lot of changes. I have to say A tier, and I can't honestly say that with any confidence. And
I can't imagine they are worse than A tier. Like, there's no way this book is B tier, right? And like this is a great book. I don't think they're S tier, and that might be a controversial pick. I'm a Sisters player. I'm probably biased. Sorry, folks, it's true. But let's keep it real. The points changes are rough. Like you do not have the quantity of stuff on the table that you are used to. If I took like what I was taking as a 2,000 point list last week and put it into the calculator today, it's like 1650. You know, I really am playing with less stuff. So with that said, I think your play style is going to have to change, and you're really going to have to adapt as a Sisters player. I know I personally have really struggled just trying to do what I used to do and being like, this is not the same. And I think that's good. It's going to force some innovation. But those points changes are what's going to keep them from being like God tier, oh no, what have we done here kind of good. I think they're just a good army, like a great army, but not an overpowered powerhouse army. You might find a build like specifically Bringers of Flame, Repentance, and Hosts might be just too powerful at certain matchups, but they have their problems as factions. Like, they're not unbeatable by any stretch.
I agree. I think they've done a great job with these points. Some of them may be a little on the high side right now, and they may come down over time. But I much prefer this than when Nick and I first read this book. Before we had any of the points, we were like, "Oh, the game's over." Yep, everyone pack it up until this thing is nerfed. There is nothing that can hang with where these guys would have been with the previous points. Even Chaos Space Marines and Orcs, I don't think could hang with what systems are going to be bringing.
The unnerfed point values was just like laughable. There's a game where I'm playing John Lennon. There's like two actually, one's in the war and one's on our YouTube channel, and both of them are like, I have never beaten John so hard in my entire life, and I shouldn't. Like, John is a phenomenal Warhammer player, right? Like, the fact that I could do that is just like a testament to how stupid the Codex was.
Correct. Agreed. And on that note, we are going to go over and record part 2. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this review. I just want to say my very heartfelt gratitude to everyone who supported me for these last 200 episodes. I never thought I'd get this far. I never thought I'd do this well. And it's been my absolute honor to do this show for you guys for 200 episodes. I ain't going anywhere, baby. We're just going to keep going and churning from here. We have weeks of content lined up for us. Thank you very much, Kane's Workshop, where I don't have to constantly be thinking up what to record. But thank you so much, guys. We're going to have some revamped intros and outros and other little bits and pieces coming in the very near future. Thank you very much to Seamus as well. Big shout out, pour one out for Seamus. He's been the absolute unsung hero of both of our shows, constantly making us sound good, fixing our mistakes.
The real hero. We are nothing without you, Seamus.
And I want to thank you, Nick, for the opportunity.
Thank you for having me on. This has been a great opportunity for us. You know, like, you love having you on the network. Love you being a part of Art of War, Adam. 200 episodes. Congratulations. That's awesome. And hopes here's to many, many more.
Indeed. All right. On that note, we are out of here. Come catch us over on part 2, Art of War Down Under. Seas there.
Real quick, just before we roll that outro, I just wanted to pop in here for a second and say a few things. I'm Seamus, as you may very well know. I understand my voice doesn't pop up on the show very often, but I am always here in the background working and editing all these files. And I would just like to express my gratitude to both Nick and Adam. They've been a pleasure to work for these past 3 to 4 years. And I'd also like to express my thanks to all of the listeners that keep listening and tuning into the shows every week. It's been such a good experience working with these people and actually becoming, closer to the 40K community in that regard. I don't really play that much 40K or do much hobby these days, but I am always tapped in to all the new news that's coming out, and my family has been into 40K and other nerdy stuff throughout all of my time being alive, so it's been cool to have this experience and be able to work on something like this that I actually truly enjoy, and it's great because it has given me a ton of experience. I got to use these shows as my internship requirement when I went to audio school, which is an added benefit for sure. But yeah, so it's been great. I can't wait to see what's coming for both Down Under and the flagship show. And like Adam said, next week we'll have some overhauled intros and outros and just, a good format shift for after 2 years. I think it'll be a good milestone. So yeah, everybody, thank you so much for listening. I'll be around. Adam will be around. It'll be great. Have a good one and enjoy.
Thank you for listening to Art of War Down Under, a content review podcast for Warhammer 40K, hosted by Adam Camilleri, produced by Seamus Ronan. Enjoyed the show? Want your lists reviewed and the content you heard put into practice? Sign up to our Patreon and connect with us online or on Facebook. Just search for Art of War Down Under. Signing out from tomorrow.